Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenaton, and today I'm going to be bringing you a video I've been meaning to put out for a while, but I've been busy, so I haven't been able to record this. But today we're going to be going through every single card that was released in the new Legends of Runeterra expansion called The Mountain. Brought a lot of new cards, brought a whole new region in the form of TARGON itself. There's quite a lot to talk about. Don't know how long the video is going to be, but yeah. If you're new to the series, and you haven't seen any of my other videos where I rate other cards, like when I rated Rising Tides or the initial set when it first came out, I go through every single card that is newly released. I give every single card a rating from 0 to 5 stars, 0 being absolutely garbage, pretty much unplayable kind of card, with 5 being really, really good. This card's completely super powerful, might even need a nerf, kind of strong. And again, these are just my opinions. I might say a card is like super powerful, 5 out of 5 stars. You might think it's trash and might be like 1 out of 5 stars. Also, I'm creating my ratings predominantly using a constructed mentality. Some cards might be insanely good in, say, Expedition, but that won't really go into my rating. So, with that all said, enough of me rambling. Let's get into the ratings. And we're going to start off with a new region. We're going to start off with Targon. And let's see who we have up first. We got Arbiter of the Peak. 10 mana, 6/6, Overwhelm. Reduce my cost by 1 for each time you've supported or you've targeted or supported allies this game. This is going to be great. I can already not read it. It's the first card. This card is not terrible, but it's not great. It's very middle of the pack. Also, real quick, I should have mentioned this before I actually got into the card rating system, or the rating of the cards. I already said it a little bit, but like 0 is bad, 1 is like it's very niche and just falls short, 2 is very middle of the road, but like that's kind of a card that you might cut if you need a space in a deck. 3 is just, this card's fine, it does its job, and that's pretty much it, or it doesn't go into too many decks. 4 is, it's really powerful, but it falls short in some way of just being really, really stupidly strong, which is what a 5 star is. So as I was saying about Arbiter of the Peaks, though, the problem with this card, I think, is the support decks don't really need this. Like, this card is kind of a finisher. Like, you've done a lot of targeting, self-targeting or supporting, and then you play this and you use it as like a big overwhelm unit to try and push in that last little bit of damage. The thing is, support decks kind of would just rather play like Demacia and play Relentless Pursuit, or Genevieve, or Cythria, or maybe even Tiana, or even if they really want Brightsteel Guardian as their last little finisher. Now, of course, you can be like, well, what if you discount this a lot and make it so it costs like 0 or even 1 mana? If you've supported or targeted something that much, you're probably winning. And if you're not winning, you're probably losing the game then. So with that all said and done, though, I still think the card's good and playable, and it's not a terrible thing for a support deck. I'm giving it 2 stars. Like I said, it's fine as like a finisher, and if you can like really turbo speed it out, it's not the worst. But again, there's just, in my opinion, better cards that fulfill its same similar role. So yeah, 2 stars. Next up, though, who have we got? We got our first champion. We got Aurelion Sol, my favorite champion of the set too. There's a lot to unpack with this guy. 10 mana, 10/10. He has Fearsome, which is a new mechanic, and Spell Shield. Fearsome says when the unit basically kills something, give it +1/+1. Spell Shield, pretty much, to put it simply, negate a spell or ability that affects this card, like things like Single Combat, Vile Feast, Vengeance. Did I just say it targets it? I didn't mean target, but like effect. So you can also block things like Ruination and Avalanche and so on and so forth. When you play Aurelion Sol, you get to invoke a Celestial card that costs 7 or more. If you don't know what Invoke is, basically you see 3 cards from a select pool of cards, the Celestial cards, which I could put up an image for that, but there's a lot of them, and that would be a really, really, really big image, and it'd be hard to read, so I'm not going to. They're all really, really good, too, pretty much. And then he says, at the start of the round, create a random Celestial card, and to level up Aurelion Sol, At the end of the round, you need to have allies with 20 plus total power. That includes Aurelion Sol is included in that count, so just with him on the field alone, you're already halfway there. And then when he levels up, he gets the whole creating a random celestial card is still going off. But now celestial cards cost 0. Leveled up Aurelion Sol is pretty much game over if you don't remove it right away. And then his champ spell is an okay card, not amazing. His champ spell is Skies Descend. Slow speed 15 mana spell, deal 15 to all enemies. It costs 2 less for each dragon or celestial ally you have. It's okay. It's not the greatest. It doesn't even kill everything because it just deals damage, unlike something, say, like Ruination, which just destroys things, so it's kind of stopped by things like Barrier. Maybe it can't even kill a big They Who Endure, so it's an okay champ spell, not amazing. But still, Aurelion Sol, very powerful card. Some people think he's worthy of nerfs. I think he's fine, really strong, but I think he's one, I would describe him as a strong card that's strong, but not nerf worthy, but maybe a small nerf could happen to him. But that all said, though, I'm only giving him 4 stars instead of 5. And that's because, like, he's kind of, like, not versatile, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't really help catch you up. 10 mana is a lot of mana to spend, so if you spend 10 mana and they kill Aurelion Sol, all you've got to show for it is, like, the random celestial card you invoked. And his champ spell is good, but not amazing, and it's probably going to cost a lot, like, maybe 9 mana at its cheapest, unless you're completely balling out of control. So yeah, 4 stars. Still really good, though. And like I said earlier, my favorite champ. Next up, what have we got? We got Bastion. Bastion is a 3 mana burst spell. Give an ally spell shield this round. Cards are great. Sure, if you are starting to just realize how spell shield works, you can be like, well, you can't use like Vile Feast or Make It Rain or something like that to just pop a spell shield. Yes, you can. You can use a cheap spell to stop a spell shield, basically, which does happen. But I like Bastion. It's kind of like a, it's not as good as Deny, but it's like Deny, but 3 mana. And Deny used to be 3 mana too, if you didn't know. Yeah, very powerful card. I like it. Really nice in decks where you want a champion to stay alive and you want to protect that champion. Something like Lux, Yasuo. It's nice with Aurelion Sol too, to give him another spell shield after he loses the first one. All in all, though, I'm going to give this thing only 3 stars because spell shield is a little fragile. And this kind of card is only really as like a 1 of or a 2 of in the deck. Sometimes a 3 of, but I feel at 3 it's starting to get a little too much. And you might have a hand where you have all these bastions and nothing to actually bastion up. So yeah, nice card though, but only 3 stars for me. Next up, Behold the Infinite. I'm not a big fan of this card. 2 mana, burst spell, invoke. There's a lot of invoke stuff. I feel like these kind of cards that just say invoke and they don't say something specific, like invoke a 7 cost or more, or a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, or some kind of specific invoke kind of card pool, are just too high variance. Now, this card is playable and constructed, I'd say, because of things like Lee Sin and Karma and just stuff that cares about casting a lot of spells. It's really nice, gives you a little bit of late game in the form of big celestials, so it's an okay card, but it's kind of like a filler card that if you're playing this card, you kind of really just need to care about the spell count of the deck, so it's not that great. I'm giving it 1 star. It's playable, but only in very not even niche, but very niche scenarios, I guess, not niche decks. So yeah, play Guiding Touch instead most of the time, is what I would say. We haven't seen it yet, but we'll see it later. Just play that card instead. Next up, Blessing of Targon. 5 mana, burst spell. Grant an ally +3/+3. I think I overrate this card. I really like Blessing of Targon. Compare it to Fury of the North. 4 mana, +3/+4. It's been nerfed. It used to be +4/+4. For 1 extra mana, you're getting less stats, but the buff is permanent. I really like that. I've been using this in like some brews of mine to give like an elusive or a life stealer, the permanent +3/+3. You can use it as like a combat trick as well, of course. Sure, 5 mana is a lot of mana, don't get me wrong, but it's still really cute. And of course, there's the whole, like, we haven't seen him yet either, but we'll see him later. The whole Tarek Blessing of Targon thing. So, good card. A little expensive, though, as a combat trick, and you don't want your combat tricks to be too expensive. So, it only gets 2 stars from me. You only really want, like, 2 of these in your deck. Not really a 3 of, like, Old Fury was, but still, solid card, serviceable, it does its job, and it does it well. Next up. Broadback Protector. 4 mana, 2/7, round start. Heal your Nexus for 3. Deal damage to me equal to the amount healed. So if you're at your Nexus at full health, it'll do no damage to himself. If it's at 19, it'll heal the Nexus for 1, and the guy will take 1. And so on and so forth. The card, in my opinion, is a fine card. The problem is, I feel like the deck that would want this card doesn't exist yet. And then I say that because I feel like a deck that wants this card is a healing matters kind of deck. Basically what a lot of people are theorizing Soraka is going to be in. Well, we don't have Soraka in the game yet. So the rating I'm going to give this guy, in my opinion, a little low. 2 stars. Maybe this guy will go up to 4 stars. Like in the healing deck, this guy is great. The problem is, there isn't really a healing-centric deck. So, for now, he's only getting 2 stars. Can see a little play in kind of like Targon stall and just try and do nothing. And like, you can also do some cute stuff by giving this guy regeneration to get, in theory, infinite heals. But it's a lot of work for just, what, healing a lot? It's okay. Next up. Well, that's in the wrong order. Well, we got Crescent Guardian. Whatever, you guys will get to see it here. No, don't laugh at how unprofessional I am. Alright. I wanted to talk about this guy before I gave the star rating. But, yeah, Crescent Guardian, 3 mana, 3/3, Overwhelm, Nightfall, grant me +2/+0. 3 stars. Also, Nightfall, we haven't seen it yet. Nightfall is a new mechanic. Basically, it says, activate the Nightfall if this is not the first card you have played this turn. It's a pretty good mechanic. I would say this card is like Iron Ballista from Noxus. When I first saw Iron Ballista long time ago, I was very unimpressed with Iron Ballista. I was like, it's a 4/3 with Overwhelm. That's not great. And then I started losing to Darius Harrowing, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And now we got Crescent Guardian. And Crescent Guardian is pretty much Iron Ballista, but slightly bigger, almost always, because if you're not getting your Nightfall going off in a Nightfall deck, you have bigger problems to deal with. Anyway, though, like I said, though, card only really goes in Nightfall aggro, Nightfall tempo, whatever you want to call it, kind of decks. Only 3 stars for me. Next up, I believe we have another Nightfall card, though. We got Cygnus. Cygnus is the recipient of a nice little buff. It used to be a 4/2. Now Cygnus is a 6 mana 5/3. Nightfall, give me an ally elusive this round. The problem, I think, is that just a little too expensive. Like, the buff is nice, so it's not a 4/2 anymore. It's now a 5/3, so it doesn't die to, like, Mystic Shot, I guess, and Avalanche. But just a little too expensive, and Nightfall really just doesn't need this thing. They can finish games off on their own. The problem with Nightfall, I guess, is just consistency, if that makes sense, and Nightfall decks are a little tough to play, like knowing when to skip like the early game, when to try and fight for the board, when to save a card to activate Nightfall, so on and so forth. Still though, of course, it's a buff and it's nice, but I don't think it's going to carry Cygnus up into playability. I'm still giving him 1 star. He's good to get randomly, like the card is powerful, but again, like I said, 6 mana, just too much for this guy. Plus the Nightfall, like if you don't activate Nightfall and you don't kill them with Cygnus that round and his friend, he's just a 5/3 for 6. Very sad. Next up though, I believe we got our next channel. Yeah, we're just talking about Nightfall right now, apparently. We got Diana. I think Diana is really strong. I know a lot of people, when they first saw Diana, were like, she is crap, she's not that good. She's very simplistic. I agree, she is a little simplistic in terms of the card's complexity, but that's not a bad thing. Diana is a 2-mana 2/2 with quick attack. Nightfall, she gets Challenger for the round. Level her up, activated Nightfall 4 times. As you can see from the wording, she doesn't even have to be on the field to see the Nightfall being activated, so she'll level up in the deck, which is really nice. Leveled up Diana is a 2-mana 3/3 with quick attack. Nightfall, or when you activate another Nightfall, she gets +2/+0 and Challenger for the round. And also her champ spell is Pale Cascade, 2-mana burst spell, give an ally +2/+1, and Nightfall, draw a card. I would put her like similar to Vi in that like Vi is not really meant to win the game on her own, or at least she doesn't do that. Just like I think Diana's not really going to win the game on her own, but Vi, like much like Diana, kind of just kills a problematic unit using their Challenger and helps clear the way for the rest of the team. Which is why I think Diana is really good. She does her job well, and she does it consistently. Plus, it also helps that her her champ spell is really powerful. Pale Cascade is an insane card. Great combat trick. And the Nightfall to draw 1 is insane. Plus, her champ spell plays really nicely with her, which is how most champ spells work with their champions, but it works really well with quick attack stuff and Challenger, so, you know, that's cute and all. Because of that, though, I'm giving her 4 stars. She is a little fragile, and she does kind of just fall over to early game removal, like a Mystic Shot, or Grasp, or Avalanche, or whatever. Thermogenic Beam, etc., etc. And that's the only thing that's going to keep her from getting 5 stars, in my opinion. Still, though, really strong card. Next up, we got Dragon's Clutch. 3-mana burst spell. You get to choose one of the two. You get to either draw 2 different dragons or grant dragon allies +1/+1. Specifically, dragon allies on the field. I think this card's great. I think it's really, really strong and actually a little underplayed. 3 mana to draw 2 already is just really good. Usually to draw 2 in this game, you have to pay 4 mana. And you might get a little bit extra. For example, Salvage, very popular draw spell in Bilgewater. It's a 4 mana draw 2, toss 2. A lot of decks play that card and don't even care about the toss. They're just playing it because it's a 4 mana draw 2. But yeah, now the difference between this and Salvage is you're only drawing dragons, you're not drawing just whatever from the deck. But still, sometimes you want to do this to draw like an Aurelion Sol, Infinite Mind Splitter, INVIOLUS Vox, etc., etc. Really, really nice. Only 4 stars for me, though, because, like, sometimes you do want to just draw cards, and you're like, I don't want dragons. I want, like, a kill spell or something. But still, really solid. If you're in dragons, and yeah, like, that's the other thing. You also need to play dragons, and sometimes you're just like, I don't want to play dragons. So yeah, only 4 stars for me. And plus, the combat trick is, it's cute. It's not terrible. Sometimes you'll use it to keep a dragon alive, and thanks to dragons having fury, it works out well with them. But usually you're using this to draw cards. Next up, though, we got Fledgling Stellacorn. This card's trash. Not much to talk about this card. 3 mana, 1/2, lifesteal, spell shield. Maybe when Soraka comes out in a Healing Matters deck exists, sure. It holds buffs well, I guess, because of spell shield, but like, so do a lot of other cards. Yeah, card's kind of trash. I'm giving it 0 stars. I'm sorry, you're a cutie, but you're not a good card. Next up, Fused Firebrand. Back to the dragons. 5 mana, 5/5, Fury, Spell Shield. I believe there are 2 5-mana dragons in the game now. This and one that's in Demacia, which we'll see a little bit later on. I think this is the weaker of the 2, because the other one has Challenger, I believe. This is still a serviceable card, I think, for Constructed, especially in Dragon decks. You just want something on 5 to get on the board. Thanks to Spell Shield, it's a very sticky unit. It'll do its job of just sticking on the board and slowing down combat until you can play, like, Mind Splitters and Aurelion Sol himself. It's fine. Pretty much only a Dragon deck kind of card. I've tried it in other non-dragon decks, just as a 5-drop, just because I needed a 5-drop. It was fine, but nothing special. I'm giving it 2 stars because of that. Just a little too narrow-minded in what kind of decks it can go in. Next up, though, we got Giddy Sparklyologist. 3-mana 2/2. If you behold a Celestial card, grant an ally +1/+1 and Spell Shield. I think this card is very underplayed. For those of you who came from Hearthstone, some of you might remember Shattered Sun and Cleric. If I'm getting the name wrong, I'm getting the name wrong. But Shattered Sun and Cleric was a 3-mana 3/2 that when you summoned it, it gave +1/+1 to something. I might have the name wrong. It's been a long time since I played Hearthstone. This thing is a little smaller than Shattered Sun Cleric. It's only a 2/2 instead of a 3/2. And you also have to behold a Celestial card. Also, behold, I guess, is a new mechanic we haven't seen yet. Behold says you get to behold means you either have to have the card in hand or on the field. So you have to either have a Celestial in your hand or on the field to activate the behold part. So in this case, it would be giving the +1/+1 and Spell Shield. A little bit tough, but not crazy. Still, though, the fact that this thing can give Spell Shield to pretty much anything that doesn't have Spell Shield, like give it to, I don't know, like an elusive, basically refresh Aurelion Sol Spell Shield, give Diana a Spell Shield, give Yasuo a Spell Shield, etc., etc. I think this card is good because of that. And the stat line is not terrible. Like 2/2 does fight decently well on the board. Still, though, a little tough to activate her. So she's not really going to come down on 3 too often, in my opinion. Because of that, only 4 stars. If it was a little bit easier to activate her ability, I think she would be 5 out of 5 stars and probably have to get nerfed. But as it is now, I think she's fairly well balanced and fairly strong. But the problem is, she's not really wanted in any good deck at the moment. Next up, though, we got Gift Giver. Gift Giver is a 1-mana 1/2. When I'm summoned, create a gem in hand. We can see there on the left side, I have included a picture of a gem. We'll see a lot more of these gems in the future. Gems are 1-mana burst spells. Heal an ally for 1. Grant it +1/+0. It's got this new spell speed thing. It's still a burst spell, but it's got this thing that says it can't be cast in combat or in response to a spell. I believe there are other cards like this. I can't think of any off the top of my head. It's an okay card. It helps, like, Gift Giver's, like, it gets on the board early. You can even gem it up if you want to make her a 1-mana 2/2, kind of like a Cithria or something. Usually you want to use the gem to toss away to something like a Rummage or some other kind of discard card. Or maybe use the gem to increase the spell count for like Lee Sin or a Deep Meditation or something like that. Stuff like that. Or maybe use it with Ezreal. Who knows? Go crazy. There's a lot of things you can do with Gift Giver. I still think she's a good card. Only 2 stars though, because she's just kind of like, it's not too special. Like, it's a very slow kind of deck that's playing Gift Giver, and Gift Giver herself is slow. I feel like if her stat line was a little bit reversed, like she was a 2/1, I'd kind of like her a little bit more. Maybe even give her 3 stars. I bounce back and forth on giving her 2 or 3 stars, but I think 2 stars is what I'm comfortable giving her because it's just like not that impressive in my opinion. Whenever I see a Gift Giver, I'm like, okay, it's they got a gem, whatever. Next up though, Grandfather Rumal. This guy is really just for Expedition. There's not much to talk about this guy. 8-mana 8/4, Overwhelm Spell Shield, play, grant an ally +0/+4. In a world of like Leviathans and Riptide Rexes and other such big boys, Grandfather Rumal is not going to really get played in Constructed. If you want late game in Targon, you pretty much just play Aurelion Sol. Unless you... And if you are playing 2 other champions besides Aurelion Sol, just invoke late game, if that makes sense. Because of that, I'm going to give Grandfather Rumal 0 stars. Maybe if there's some weird, like, Overwhelm matters Targon deck, maybe Grandfather Rumal, but as it stands, I think he needs a buff of some kind to see play in Constructed. Still though, really good in Expedition. He'll win games in Expedition, so he sees play in the game at least. Next up, I love this card. This is one of my favorite cards in the set. Very simplistic, though. Guiding Touch. 2 mana burst spell. Heal an ally or Nexus by 2, draw 1. Card is insane. Cantrips are lovely. The spell itself is actually fairly powerful. I mean, look at Health Potion. Health Potion, I completely whiffed my rating on. I think I rated Health Potion like a 1 or even a 0-star card. 1 mana, heal 3 at burst speed. For an extra mana, you lose out on healing for 1, but you get to draw a card. That's insane. You can use it to heal up stuff to play around like pings. You can use it to activate Nightfall. You can use it to help out with like Lee Sin. It's a spell for like leveled up, a burst spell for like leveled up TF, I guess. And so on and so forth. It's just a great card. I'm giving it 5 stars. I don't think it's like super OP, needs a nerf, but like it just does what it does really well. Super versatile, draws you through your deck if you're a combo deck while trying to keep you alive. Lovely card. I love it. Next up, Herald of Dragons. 2 mana 1/1 dragon allies cost 1 less. Mana dork, basically, if you have played other games, that other card games. I'm not the biggest fan of this card. I've played some dragon decks, and I know some people actually love this card. I just feel like this card's a little too small. Like, if this card costed 1 mana, maybe, or it was like a 1/2 for 2, sure, but at 2 for a 1/1, it's just a little too fragile in my opinion. Like, everyone who has played card games sees like a card like this, and they see a card that's like, hey, basically cheat on mana. They kill it immediately if they can, unless it's like the kill spell is like really, really good. Like, I'm not gonna Vengeance a 1/1, but I will gladly like Vile Feast, Parlay, Withering, maybe not Withering Wail, but Make It Rain, etc., etc. This thing, because you gotta basically delay your opponent for a turn. Still though, I'm gonna give it 2 stars because it is a very powerful effect, and if this card doesn't die, it will pretty much help you win a game. Like, get your Aurelion Sols out early, get your Fused Firebrands out early, but still, like, only 2 stars because while it's powerful and it demands like being dealt with, or else your opponent might just snowball with the game, it's a dragon only card. Like, what's the point of playing this if you're not playing dragons? There's literally no point in playing this if you're not in dragons. Next up, ooh, we got Hush, a card that's making people really mad. Hush is a 3 mana burst spell. Silence a unit this round. Create a fleeting Hush in hand. Specifically unit, not followers. So you can silence champions. Silence, like, I don't know, Draven, silence Fizz, etc., etc. Burst speed is nice, so you can't interact with it. Like, play a spell in case you're silencing Fizz. Silence Teemo to get rid of elusives. I think this card's really strong. I'm only gonna give it, I believe, 4 stars here. And that's because, like, the way I look at Hush is it says, in my opinion, you can look at it and read its text kind of like a win combat this round. So you kind of need a board for this to do well because it's not a permanent silence. So you want to use Hush to win combat. So you want to have like things on the field. They attack in with like elusives. You use Hush to remove the elusive. Use Hush to remove buffs, etc., etc. So you're gonna need some stuff. Now, of course, you can also be like, oh, I have what about against they who endure, etc., etc. That's also very cute. Still though, that's pretty much the only reason I'm giving it 4 stars instead of 5. I believe it might get a nerf soon. I hope not. I hope it doesn't get like a super big nerf and it just dies because I like this card. It basically is kind of a no fun allowed kind of card. Kind of card I love. Next up, though, let's see what we got next. INVIOLUS Vox. I believe I've mentioned and talked about this guy a little bit already when I was talking about dragons. INVIOLUS Vox himself is a dragon. 6 mana, 5/6, Fury. When an ally with Fury kills an enemy for the first time each round, create a random dragon in hand. That's really good, first off. I feel like the problem with Vox is he's really expensive. Now you might say, well, isn't this where Herald of Dragons comes into play? Yes, it is. The issue is, like, I feel like if INVIOLUS Vox gets on the field and you're killing stuff with your dragons, which is pretty much all Fury is on, you're kind of winning the game already, right? And this is just turning into some win more stuff. I might be wrong, but it's not that great. Like, good stat line too, but I just kind of wish Vox had like a little bit more, like maybe a little more health or a little more attack, or I don't know, maybe spell shield or something. That'd probably be busted, but whatever. I mean, INVIOLUS Vox is in a fine spot as just like, I just want a little extra like late game insurance in my dragon deck, and you play this and be like, oh, I got another INVIOLUS Vox, or I got I don't know, a fused firebrand or something. 2 stars from me. Great in a dragon deck, because, you know, it's a dragon, you want to hit a critical mass of them, and the body's good, but just a little slow is the problem, because you still need to actually play the dragon from Vox, so that's a little bit tough. Next up, though, we got Leona. Probably my second favorite champ in the set after Aurelion Sol. There's a lot to unpack here. 4 mana, 3/5. Great stat line for her cost. Daybreak, new mechanic. I believe this is the first time we'll see Daybreak. Daybreak says, it's kind of the opposite of Nightfall, obviously. It says, if it's the first card you've played this turn, do the Daybreak. Leona's Daybreak says, stun the strongest enemy. To level her up, you have to activate Daybreak 4 times. So you could technically level up Leona on the turn she's played. You play a Daybreak on 1, 2, and 3. Use Leona to Daybreak on turn 4 is the 4th Daybreak. She's like Diana. She doesn't need to see the Daybreaks happening. She could be in the deck. And then when she levels up, she is a 4 mana 4/6 that says Daybreak, or when you activate another Daybreak, stun the strongest enemy. Her champ spell, it's not that great. It's Morning Light, 5 mana slow speed spell. Give allies +2/+2 this round. If you Daybreak, activate all allied Daybreak effects at once. Pretty cute if you have like a bunch of Daybreak stuff, and then you can use Morning Light plus Leona to stun their board and get a big attack in. Still though, that's the weakest part of Leona in my opinion, is her champ spell's fine, but not great. Not like a Pale Cascade with Diana. Still though, very good stat line. She does a good job of just slowing the game down, so you can play things like I don't know, Aurelion Sol, or just dragons in general, or whatever late game you want. Just try to invoke some and play a bunch of big celestials or something. Great card. I'm actually going to give her a whole 5 stars. She just does it all. There's not really a thing I'm not impressed by her. Like, great card itself. Decent champ spell, not amazing. Plus the artwork's very cute too, of course. Like, look at that level 2 artwork. How can you not like it? So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Lovely card. I could honestly see her getting a small nerf. Like, I don't know how they would nerf her, but I could see her getting a small nerf. Maybe make it so it's like Daybreak 5 times to level her up, so that she won't level up when she gets played on curve. Maybe, but I don't think she needs a nerf right now. Next up, who have we got? We got Lunari Duskbringer from Daybreak to Nightfall. Lunari Duskbringer is a 1 mana 2/1. It says when she's summoned, create a Dusk Petal Dust in hand. We can see on the left, Dusk Petal Dust is a 1 mana burst speed spell that says the next unit with Nightfall you play this round costs 1 less. This card is really good. By itself, not amazing. They look at it and it's like, oh, it's a 1 mana 2/1. That's not great. It summons it creates a spell in hand, kind of like Gift Giver, but whatever. But the problem is, this card is kind of like the linchpin of Nightfall decks. If it weren't for this card, Nightfall decks would kind of be really bad. Like, they're not that great at the moment, but without this card, they would probably... talking is hard. Without this card, Nightfall decks would probably be pretty much unplayable, or at least very, very, very bad, like tier 3. Because of that, I'm giving this thing 3 stars. Like, it's only really a Nightfall card. I've seen some people play this in like Fizz decks to use this to get a cheap burst spell for Fizz to like help protect Fizz, but I haven't been impressed by that. Really, I think it's just you play this card in Nightfall decks to help smooth out the Nightfall curve, so you can play like whatever Nightfall stuff you want to play. Because like the Dusk Petal Dust is both a it helps out with making Nightfall stuff cheaper, and it activates Nightfall for you for that turn. So great card. 3 stars for me though. Next up, Lunari Priestess, 3 mana 2/1, Nightfall Invoke. Also a good card. I like this card a lot. I've played this card in a lot of decks. This is not, unlike the Duskbringer, this is not specifically a Nightfall deck kind of card. You can just throw this card into pretty much any deck that wants to do some invoking. Now, of course, you might get a little unlucky and you might invoke the wrong kind of cards, of course. That's just the nature of RNG kind of mechanics like this. But still, though, it's the Priestess's body. Her body's not great, but it's okay for the cost. 3 mana 2/1 does fight well in the early game. Not really going to play her on 3 unless you want to cast a spell with some spell mana you banked, so this is probably only going to come down around turn 4 or 5-ish at the earliest. Still, though, great card. Really nice to put in there if you just want to invoke in your deck. I'm going to give it 5 stars, actually. Like, I'm probably overrating her a lot. In fact, maybe she's more like a 3 or a 4-star card, but I think this card's great. Next up, though, I don't think there's too much to talk about here. Fairly simple card, like I was saying. But next up, we got Lunari Shadestalker. 2 mana 2/3, Nightfall, grant me elusive. Still on Nightfall. This card is what Lunari Duskbringer loves. Duskbringer will get her dust, use it, play the Shadestalker, and then go to town with this thing, because 2 mana 2/3 elusive is fine. Like, you will use this card and you will play it, and you will just kill opponents with just a random elusive. And thanks to other combat tricks and so on and so forth, it's going to be kind of difficult to remove. Fairly solid card for Nightfall decks. It's getting 4 stars from me. It's probably one of the stronger Nightfall cards that's not named Diana. Yeah, I like that card. Next up, though, we got Mentor of Stones. 3 mana 1/1, support. Grant my supported ally +2/+2. Last breath, create 3 gems in hand. Real quick note. Notice that the supported ally getting +2/+2 is a permanent thing, not a temporary thing for the round only. It's very nice. Card's fine. It's actually fairly powerful. The biggest issue with the card is the stat line of 1/1. It's very easy to kill. A lot of the time, in fact, you will play this card and your opponent will respond before you have a chance to attack in by playing like a Vile Feast or Withering Wail or some kind of like damage-based removal to kill this guy before you can get an attack in. And then you pretty much just played a 3 mana create 3 gems kind of card. Because you want to use this thing with stuff that wants to get buffed, like either support decks like Taric, Lee Sin decks to buff up Lee Sin, decks to buff up some kind of quick attack or elusive card. You're pretty much only going to get at maximum 1 round of attacks in with this guy. If you somehow are able to attack in twice with a Mentor, well, your opponent is in a bad spot. I'm sorry for the opponent, but you're probably doing great if that's happening. Because of that, though, only 3 stars. Very powerful, very good at what he does, but really, I just wish he had like a little bit more health. If he was a 1/2, I'd actually probably give him 5 stars. He'd be really strong at as a 1/2, but I think he's a very fair card as is, which is kind of represented in his rating I'm giving him. Next up, Messenger Sigil. Messenger Sigil is a 1 mana burst speed spell. Shuffles 5 messengers into your deck. The messenger is also a celestial. You can see it in the bottom left. 2 mana 2/2. When I'm summoned, draw 1. Fairly decent card, I'd say. The messenger, not the Messenger Sigil. Messenger Sigil is pretty bad. Now, of course, you can do some cute stuff where you play like a bunch of Messenger Sigils, fill your deck up with Messenger Sigils. Play Smooth Soloist to discount those guys so they cost 0. Maybe have a Twisted Fate on the board, and then just chain off messengers over and over and over from your deck. Like, that's a cute meme, but like I said, it's just a meme. The problem is with this kind of card is, sure, you're adding more cards to your deck, but you gotta actually play the cards. Like, this is a 1 mana kind of do nothing. You're not affecting the board. You're not helping out your hand. You're just throwing away a card to get value in the late game, which isn't even that great value. Now, maybe sure you can use it as like anti-mill against a Maokai or something, but even then it's not that great. Just not an amazing card. Because of that, in all honesty, as much as I like the card and it's very fun, it's only going to get 0 stars from me. I really just don't think it's that good. Very fun, just not good enough in my opinion. Next up, Moon Dreamer. 5 mana, 3/5. Play the card, invoke. I thought this card was like borderline playable in Constructed when I first saw it. And I was like, oh, it's a 5 mana, 3/5. Stat line's okay, right? Like, I kind of want a 5/5 when I play a 5-drop, but a 3/5's not terrible. And invoking to get a random Celestial? Sure. Why not? The problem is, it's just too slow. And the stat line, while it's not terrible, it's just not great. It's just a 3/5. So, because of that, I'm giving it 1 star. In the future, if there is a deck that cares about the number of times you invoked, not just the Celestials from the invoking, maybe this card will see play. For now, though, I think this card is just barely borderline not playable in a bunch of decks. Like, there's just other 5-drops and stuff I'd rather play to try to slow down the deck if I'm trying to play like a lot of Celestials or Aurelion Sol. Great card in Expedition, though, I will say that. Celestials are kind of broken in Expedition, so if you see this in Expedition, you should play it. Next, though, we got actual Morning Light. We already saw this. Not much to talk about here that I haven't said already when we first saw it with Leona. Fairly okay card. Not amazing, not great. I think it's like, at most, you want to play like 1, maybe 2 in your Daybreak decks, but outside of Daybreak decks, you shouldn't play this card. It's only getting a 1 star because it's like, I feel like there's just better stuff to play besides this card, even in Daybreak decks. Next up, Mountain Goat. 2 mana, 3/1. Strike, create a gem in hand. I'm not a big fan of this guy. I really just don't like the stat line of 3/1. Like, whenever I see 1 health, I'm always like, okay, Vile Feast, Make It Rain, etc., etc. With how popular Bilgewater is, especially. Plus, you actually have to strike 2 to actually get the gem. The nice thing I will say is that the 3/1 stat line does let you block Fearsome, so if Elise and friends get popular again, sure, you can use this to try to block Elise. But again, it goes back to Vile Feast, so meh. If you can buff this guy up somehow and constantly get more and more gems, maybe that's fine, but I feel like there's better cards to just buff up and protect than Mountain Goat. So yeah, 1 star. Not great, sorry. Next up, Mountain Scryer. Now this card is actually good, I think. It's the Allegiance card for Targon. Maybe we'll get more Allegiance in the future, more than 1 per region, but for now it's just 1 per region. 4 mana, 2/3. Celestials cost 1 less. Whether you get the Allegiance or not, that's always going to happen. So kind of like a Mana Dork, gonna give you a little bit, gonna help you cheat out some cards quicker, just save a little bit of mana with that ability. It's kind of nice. 2/3 stat line for 4 mana is not great. The Allegiance ability of Invoke is really nice, though, and that's the whole reason why we're playing him, like pretty much every other Allegiance card, where we're playing him for the Allegiance. I like the card. The problem is, I think that while this card's really good, the rest of Targon is just a little lackluster. There just are not enough cards to make me want to play only Targon. Usually whenever I've played Mountain Scryer decks, I'm like, man, I could go to Demacia and get some Radiant Guardians in single combat. I could go to Noxus and get like some Calling Strikes. I could go to Freljord and get some Omen Hawks or something, over playing like this card that's kind of just mediocre. Still though, mono Targon splashing for like 3 or 6 non-Targon cards is still playable, I think. And you play like maybe Lux or something, or single combats as well. It's fine. And this card is the main reason why you would do that, of course, like every Allegiance card. 4 stars for me. A little slow, again, like a lot of Invoke cards. Stat line's not terrible, but not amazing. If he was a 3/3, so much better, but only a 2/3. So next up, I believe we got Mountain Sojourners. 5 mana, 2/5. A lot of text on this one. 5 mana, 2/5. Support. Grant my supported ally +2/+2. If it has support, grant its supported ally +2/+2, and continue for each supported ally in succession. We haven't seen him yet, but I think we'll see him soon. Tarek loves this card, and you would love to go like Tarek into Mountain Sojourners. The problem, I think, is like, If you are somehow getting this thing to go off like crazy and you're supporting and supporting and supporting and constantly supporting and getting a huge chain, you're already pretty much winning. Still though, for a 5-drop, its stat line's not terrible, like 2-5. That is a bad stat line, don't get me wrong, but the support ability is good. Again, it's a permanent support buff, so that's nice. 2-5, the health is really high, so she's probably not gonna die unless they use like a vengeance or something. I like the card. Still though, really only goes in support decks. 2 stars. That's it, just 2 stars. Like, you're not gonna play this. Like, Mentor of the Stones, as we saw earlier, he can go in non-support decks, but Mountain Sojourners, pretty much only in support decks. Next up, Pale Cascade. This card, when I first saw it, I thought to myself, this is going to be an insanely OP card. Everyone's going to cry about it and going to say it's OP. I think it's kind of come true. People are saying this card's really strong. I don't think too many people are saying it needs a nerf, but I think it kind of might need a small nerf. I don't know how I would nerf this card, but it's really strong. And it's because of the second line of text, the whole draw 1. We talked about this card a little bit with Diana, but we can really go into it now. 2 mana burst spell, give an ally +2/+1, and then draw 1 if you activate Nightfall. Thanks to the way you can stack spells and order them on the stack, you're pretty much always going to get Nightfall to go off if you know what you're doing and you have the resources. The card is super good. Like, everyone always plays around Pale Cascade now if they see Targon, because this card is crazy. Also, we haven't seen it, but we'll see it when we head to Shadow Isles. Unspeakable Horrors is a card that creates a random Nightfall card. You can get this, so also like non-Targon decks can get this somehow. Card's just insanely good. There's not much to say about it. Combat trick that replaces itself. Amazing. Like, sure, not much health, but still, it's really good. It's getting a whole 5 stars for me. I love this card. I hate to play against it. Love to play it. Next up, we got the 1-mana 1/1 Poro of the region. Every region has to have their 1-mana 1/1 Poro. Targon's is a 1-mana 1/1 with spell shield card called Poro Fly. Pretty much like all the other 1-mana 1/1 Poros. Don't play it. Don't play 1-mana 1/1s. 0 stars. Like, the tough one in Demacia is probably the most playable of the 1/1s. And even that's kind of just not that good. Next up. Sorry, Poro Fly, by the way. There's not much to talk about it. So next up. Oh, from a kind of crappy card to a really good card. We got Ravoon, Daylight Spear. 5 mana 5/5. Good stats for the cost. Daybreak. Create a random Daybreak card in hand. And then he also says it's always day for us while he's on the field. That means every time you play a Daybreak card, your Daybreak's going to go off. It doesn't stop Nightfall. That was confirmed. And of course, now that we've been playing the game, we know that's a thing. Card's great. Little slow. And like, once you have multiple Ravoons, you're not really too excited to see multiple. Like, sure, you're getting the random Daybreak card, but you might get a bad Daybreak card. So, only going to give him 4 stars. Good stats, but the more and more you draw of this guy, the more and more you're like, the first Ravoon's the best one, I'd say, unless they kill the first one, and then you're like, oh, where's my second Ravoon? But yeah, like, with the Ravoon out as well, you can do some cute stuff with Leona, have Leona and Ravoon out and play a bunch of cheap Daybreak stuff and just stun their entire board and kill them. Very great card. Next up, Resplendent Stellacorn, 5 mana 4/5. Play the card, heal an ally and the Nexus for 3. The problem with this card, I think, is Kindly Tavern Keeper exists in Freljord. 3 mana 3/3, heal something for 3. Sure, you might not be in Freljord, so you might need this, but we haven't seen it yet. We'll see it later. Stargazing is a thing. If you really want to heal, you just play Starshaping. Still though, this card might see play, I think, in the future when a Soraka deck, if Soraka will be a heals matter kind of deck, shows up. For now though, it's just kind of like meh, in my opinion. Only 2 stars for me. It's okay if you want just a little extra healing in Targon, but Not amazing. Next up, Shards of the Mountain. 4-mana slow spell, fill your hand with gems. I might be underrating this card. The card is only really like an Ezreal kind of card, in my opinion, right? Like, I can't really think of like what other kind of deck would want to do this. Like, fill your hand with gems. Like, you need to have not too many cards in your hand so you get a lot of gems. And then you do what with all the gems? Play an Ezreal and then kill him. I'm giving it 1 star just because of really Ezreal and other kind of like meme shenanigans. Still though, I haven't been too impressed with Shards of the Mountain. Next up, we got Solari Priestess. Pretty much the opposite of the Lunari one. 3 mana 1/2, Daybreak, invoke a celestial card that costs 4, 5, or 6. These kind of invoke cards that invoke a specific celestial card, whether it's like 7 or more, or 4, 5, or 6, or whatever, I really like, because it makes the pool smaller, so it makes it much more likely to find a specific type of celestial that you're looking for. Card's great, helps out Leona, of course, because it's a Daybreak card. You can find it with Ravun because of it's being a Daybreak card. Stat line's not great. 1/2 is less preferable than being a 2/1. She can't really kill anything on her own. Really nice with Morning Light, though, if you have her out and you Morning Light. Great card. Really, really powerful. I'm giving her a whole 5 stars. I love this card. I've played it so much, and I've won so many games because of her. Very nice artwork, too. Very cute. Next up, another Daybreak card. Now we have Solari Soldier. 1 mana 2/2, Daybreak. Give me +1/+1 this round. Or Cithria. Like, I get it. Cithria's an elite, so she has that going for her. But this thing compared to Cithria, this guy is crazy good. There's not much to talk about here. This guy is kind of like just both anti-aggro and a very aggressive card. It activates Daybreak triggers with like Leona and stuff and Ravun, so you can get some stunning going on for only 1 mana. This thing is really nice on defense because of the 3/3 stat line, able to block Fearsome. Nice on offense because an early 3/3 attacking in is a decent amount of pressure. Lovely card. I'm giving it only 4 stars though, because Solari Soldier is kind of mediocre in the late game unless you're playing Leona. And even then, it's like I'd rather just play others late game stuff over this with Leona on the field. Next up, we got Spacey Sketcher, another invoke card. 1 mana 1/1. Play the card, discard a card to invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less. Really nice. You can use gems you've gotten to discard them. You can discard a Fleeting Hush or something. Very good card. You can use this card to get an early celestial to behold with Giddy Sparkleologist. Just a lovely, lovely card. The problem is, like, the 3 mana celestials, in my opinion, are a little... I don't know the right word. They're a little, I mean, obviously they're low in power because they're cheap, but they're just not too impressive. Like, sure, the Messenger is nice, the 2 mana 2/2 draw 1. There's a Silence in there, and so on and so forth, but they're not that great. So I'm only gonna give this thing 4 stars because you still have to play the Celestial, and a 1 mana 1/1 doesn't really rumble too well in combat. So just 4 stars for me. Still a really good card though, really amazing. Next up, Star Shepherd. Now, I might be crazy here. I think this card's actually decent. 1 mana 0/3. When you heal a damaged ally, grant me +2/+0. Usually for 1-drops, you're kind of looking at like 2/2s in terms of stat lines. Like, so 4 total stats in terms of a 1-drop. If you activate this card once, you get a 2/3 for 1. Now you have to activate it, of course, or else it's just a 0/3 that does nothing. If you can somehow injure this card, I guess you can heal. She can heal up and buff herself, I guess, if that makes sense. But for now, only 2 stars. I do think if there are more healing cards, maybe this card will see play, like especially in a heals matter kind of deck with things like Resplendent, Stella Corn, and I don't know, like other such things. I can't really think of anything else on the top of my head right now, but I do think this card is a little I think there is some potential here. And plus, if you don't kill the card early, it becomes like 2-3 and then 4-3, so on and so forth. Sure, there's no like actual keyword like Overwhelm or Lifesteal or anything on this card, but still, solid card in my opinion for a healing matters kind of deck for the early game. Oh, next up, speaking of healing, we got one of the best, probably not the, if not the best healing card in the game right now for spells. We got Starshaping, 5 mana burst speed. Invoke a celestial card that costs 7 or more, then heal an ally or your Nexus for 5. I mean, what is there to talk about with this card? This card's insanely good. Burst speed healing, so your opponent can't like kill whatever you're trying to heal in response. Invoking, and it's specifically invoking a certain bracket. It's invoking for 7 or more, so you're going to get some kind of late game, very nice card, like a big unit or a big spell. You can also heal your Nexus as well, so in case you're trying to not die, it's just insanely good. 5 mana as well, fairly cheap in my opinion. Amazing card. 5 stars from me. Some people think it's a little too OP. I don't know. I don't know how I would nerf this card, because I feel it's 6 mana. It might be a little too bad. Maybe make it so it invokes 6 or more instead of 7 or more to dilute the card pool a bit. Still, though, the card's great. Oh, and from great card, we go to kind of not so great card. We've got Startled Stomper. 2 mana, 2/3 Overwhelm. Nothing special here. This card is just for Expedition. That's it. If you want a 2-drop, I think like Mountain Goat's even better than this thing. So don't play this card. I'm sorry, Startled Stomper. You're getting 0 stars from me. Not much to talk about here. Next up, Sun Guardian, probably the worst of the Daybreak cards. Sun Guardian is a 6 mana 4/3 with Overwhelm. Daybreak, it gets +4/+4 for the round, so it becomes what, an 8/7 with Overwhelm? That's cool on attack, but the problem is it's only for the round, so you have to play it when you have the attack token, or you can make an attack token somehow. Sure, like it synergizes well with Daybreak stuff. It activates Leona's Daybreak thing of stunning. If you have Rob Boone out, it's kind of cute, but still, I feel like maybe it's just not playable. It is like kind of cute if you want just like some kind of Overwhelm finisher in Daybreak, but even then it's like just play something else. Just not great. It's the classic epic that's just not good enough. Sorry, Sun Guardian. You're getting 0 stars from me. I really just don't think you're playable and constructed as is. Maybe if you get a little buff, go to 5 mana or get a little bit more stats on you. Maybe. For now, you're kind of bad. Next up, Sunblessed Vigor. I think this card is really underplayed, and I think this card is actually super good. 2 mana burst speed, grant an ally +0/+2. You might say, streamer, isn't Elixir of Iron better? Well, the problem is, this thing, first off, you're not in Freljord. Second off, this thing is permanent. And the reason why I think this card doesn't get played is, one, Pale Cascade exists. Why would you play... Like, this kind of fights for the slot of Pale Cascade. You don't want to run too many combat tricks in a deck. And if you're playing 3 Pale Cascades, you don't really have room for Sunblessed Vigor. So, yeah. If it weren't for Pale Cascade, I think this card would be much, much better. Much more played. Still, though, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think the card is really good and really strong, and I think it's serviceable. Next up, Sunburst. A lot of sun stuff going on. Sunburst is a nice card. I know a lot of people, when they first saw this card, thought it was kind of bad. 6 mana deal 6 is meh. At slow speed is also meh. Really, it comes down to that Daybreak. Silence the unit, and then deal 6. Stopping things like Tryndamere, stopping Last Breath stuff, etc., etc. I was like, this thing's kind of like I was saying how it was kind of like Thermogenic Beam, but like slightly worse. Like, sure, you're spending, instead of being, you're trading out the flexibility of Thermogenic Beam for the silence. It's still fine. It's a okay removal. Decent in Targon decks, usually like a 2 of only though. Still fairly powerful, I'd say. 4 stars from me. Very, very nice card. Next up. Oh, hey, we got Tarek. We got another champion. And he's a good champion, too. He's very muscly daddy. As for the card himself, not too great. Tarek's kind of, not that good. Just too many moving parts in Tarek decks, I think. Tarek is a 4-mana 2/4 support. Give me and my supported ally tough this round. Copy the last spell you cast on only me this round onto that ally. It can't be copied again. To level him up, he has to have seen you target or support allies 7 times, so he can't be in your deck. He has to be on the field. Leveled up Tarek is a 3/5 that still does the spell copying, but now he says when he supports, the supported ally and himself can't die or take damage for the round. Chance spells Blessing of Targon. We've already talked about that. The problem with Tarek is, I think it's just like, I don't really even know what I would say. It's just like, there's better support decks out there, if that makes sense. That just would rather play other champions like Shen or Lulu or Zed or Lucian or whatever. Like, yeah, you can go and play like, the dream is like you Blessing of Targon Tarek and then you buff whatever, and or you Pale Cascade Tarek and you buff whatever, and it's very cute, but you're running into the problem of like, yeah, I'm getting all this cute value, I just need to actually win now. So yeah, thanks to that, I'm still gonna give him 4 stars. He does his job well. It's just that I think the cards around Tarek just aren't good enough in my opinion. So yeah, only 4 stars for me. Sorry, Tarek. Next up, ooh, I like this card. Infinite Mind Splitter. I've mentioned it a little bit when we were talking about the other dragons. 8 mana, 8/8. Very good stats for the cost. It's okay. Like, once you get to a certain mana count, stats are less relevant. Fury, of course, like pretty much all the other dragons. When you play the card, pick 2 enemies. At the start of the round, you stun them. Kind of like a Yone, but a little bit slower than Yone. This card's great. It gets the dragon synergies, of course, because it's a dragon. It helps you slow the game down to try and wait for Aurelion Sol. Stops problematic things from attacking, like overwhelm stuff or elusives. The card itself is really big, so it can kill your opponent by itself as well. Very good target for giving like overwhelm to as well. Fairly good overall. I'm gonna give it 3 stars though, just a little too slow. And the whole like just stunning on the round start kind of makes me not like this card as much as I would, because it's just a little too slow. Like, you can't really use this to like Yone to push in damage. Still though, really good card. It does its job well. Whenever I see Infinite Mind Splitter, I'm never like, oh, it's Infinite Mind Splitter, what an OP card. I'm just like, it's Infinite Mind Splitter. It's strong, but it's not like when I see Riptide Rex where I'm like, oh god, it's Rex. I lost. Next up, Sky's Descent. We already saw this with Aurelion Sol. When it's just Sky's Descent, no Aurelion Sol, I think this card is okay. Not amazing, but not terrible. It's kind of more leaning towards the terrible side, though. Just a little too much mana. To cast this card, you would need at least 1 dragon or celestial on the field to make it 13 to get to the bare minimum just to cast it. I'd say you'd want to have it at 9 mana to make it equal to Ruination. At that point, that means you have 3 dragons or celestials on the field. Dragons, and not all celestials, but a lot of the celestial units are fairly good units, so you're probably doing okay if you have 3 of each, or 3 on the field already, so a little win more in my opinion. Still though, as a one of in certain decks, I think it's fine. It's only getting 1 star from me though, just not good enough. I'd rather just run more removal, like actual single target removal than this. Still though, if you're getting this off of like Aurelion Sol, of course, it's a fine card. Next up though, we got Tayari the Traveler. 2 mana, 2/2 support. Grant my supported ally +0/+2. This is one of those cards I think that's fine. The problem is I just think there are too many 2-drops that compete in the same slot that are better than Tayari is. So I'm only going to give them, well, sorry Tayari. you're only going to get 2 stars. Like, Tyari kind of needs to just be in a support deck, and they are kind of bad. Unless you're talking, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. It's just that there's better support stuff and better things in the 2-drop slot, I think, right? Like Young Witch, who we haven't seen, but we'll see when we head over to Ionia. Next up, we got White Flame Protector. 4 mana, 4/4. This is the final dragon, by the way, of Targon, I believe. 4 mana, 4/4 Fury. Not much to talk about here. It's kind of like Beast Below for dragons. Beast Below is the 4 mana, 4/4 sea monster. This kind of does the similar thing that Beast Below does, that you just play it if you really just need to get on the field early in your dragon deck. With Herald of Dragons and things like Dragon Clutch and whatever, sure, you can get it out a little early, like Herald of Dragons into a turn 3 White Flame Protector is kind of cute, but meh. Because of that, only 2 stars. Like, you're only really going to play this in a dragon deck, and even then, it's not that great. And now the last card for Targon. We got Zenith Blade. 3 mana, slow spell. Grant an ally +1/+2 and Overwhelm. That's a permanent buff, by the way. If you Daybreak, draw another Zenith Blade. Now, this doesn't mean draw and create one. It means draw from your deck. So if you have all your Zenith Blades in hand, or you've drawn all of them, you're out. You don't get any more. I like this card. Very strong, in my opinion. You use it on like something like a Yasuo, Lee Sin, or just use it in general to activate Daybreak. It's a fairly okay card, but kind of niche. Not even Daybreak decks really like this card too much. You mostly just use it to off something up and try to Voltron something up and protect that card. Only gonna get 3 stars from it though. It's serviceable. It does a good job of what it does. Like, gives Overwhelm to units too that would like Overwhelm, but besides that, it's fine. And then of course, like, there's the small benefit of thinning out the deck if you Daybreak and draw extra Zenith Blades out of your deck, but that's very, very negligible. And with that, I believe that is the last of the Targon cards. Now, let's continue on. We got a lot more regions to go through. First off, I believe let's go to Bilgewater. Also, before I get into Bilgewater too much, not every region got the same amount of cards. Some of the regions only got 2 cards. Some got, I think, 8 cards or 10 cards. I can't remember the exact count. Bilgewater is one of those that only got 2 cards. Now, granted, the 2 cards that Bilgewater got are pretty good. The first one we see here is Jack the Winner. 5 mana, 5/6. Round start creating fleeting Sleep with the Fishes in hand. You can see here on the left, Sleep with the Fishes, 0 mana slow spell. Deal 2 to an ally, deal 2 to the enemy nexus. I think this card is great. When I first saw this card, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was as good as it's turning out to be, but it turns out this card is really nice. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's a fairly good stat line. 5 mana, 5/6 is really big. Like, it rumbles really well. It kills other 5-drops, like 5/5s, and survives. Sleep with the Fishes is actually kind of, it's got some synergy potential with like self-damage, killing last breath stuff. Really nice to burn people out too, and turns out that's what's happening right now with like Misfortune and Gangplank right now, using this guy to just get that last little bit of like 2 or 4 burn damage in. Really nice card. I'm gonna actually give this guy 4 stars. The only issue is he kind of just is only a 5 mana 5/6 when you first play him, which is not a bad thing, but it's just a vanilla 5 mana 5/6 until he starts to get his whole Sleep with the Fishes thing rolling. No, I mean, that is a really, like I was saying though, that's a really, really big body for 5 mana, but still. That's fine. Next up though, we got Monkey Business. 2 mana slow spell. Summon a Powder Monkey. Plunder. Summon another Powder Monkey next round. When I first saw this card, I didn't think it was that good. And then Misfortune, Gangplank Sejuani started to play this, and I was like, oh, I see. Also, it doesn't help that when I first saw the card, I misread the Plunder ability, and I thought it said Plunder, summon another Powder Monkey, and I didn't read the next round. I thought it just summoned it immediately. But because of that, because it summons a Powder Monkey the next round as well, I think that's why it's good. Gives you a nice little, either a chump blocker or a little buddy to attack it and get some nice damage in on the Nexus. Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It's serviceable. And with that, that's all for Bilgewater. They didn't get much, but what they did get was pretty good. Next up, I think we got Demacia. Demacia, it didn't get too much either. For the Fallen is the first of their cards they got. 8 mana slow spell. When you summon an elite, reduce its cost by 1. For each ally that died this round, summon a Dauntless Vanguard. We've already know what Dauntless Vanguard is, but I included it here for simplicity's sake. 3 mana, 3/3 elites. Nothing else about them. I think the card is fine. Play as like a 1 or maybe a 2 of in an elite deck, which in my opinion elites aren't that good, but yeah, whatever. It helps you fill up the board again after your board's been wiped from like a Ruination or Avalanche or whatever. Still though, it's just really only for elite decks. I'm gonna give it 2 stars. Next up, we got Screeching Dragon. I talked about this guy. I hinted that this guy would fuse Firebrand as the other 5 mana dragon. This card is probably one of the best dragons not named Aurelion Sol, an Infinite Mind Splitter. 5 mana 4/5 Challenger Fury. That Challenger box right there makes this guy insanely good. The combination of Challenger and Fury is insane. Use him to pick off some annoying elusives, use him to pick off annoying support cards, and he buffs himself to kill like maybe a big thing, like I don't know, a Mind Splitter itself, maybe a Cythria. Who knows? Card is great. Maybe in the future when we see more dragons like Shivana, you'll see a lot more Screeching Dragons when Demacia Dragons starts to become a thing. I mean, we're already seeing this guy already, but maybe even more so in the future. For now, though, 4 stars. Really good card. Fairly good 5-drop. One of the better 5-drops in the game, I think. Next up, we're heading to Freljord, one of the regions that got more than 2 cards. And we got Augur of the Old Ones to start with. Augur of the Old Ones is a 6 mana 5/5 Overwhelm regeneration. Play, if you behold an 8-cost card, Freljord has a lot of this stuff of beholding an 8-cost card, grant an ally regeneration and Overwhelm. I mentioned it before, like giving regeneration and Overwhelm to certain cards is really nice. This is how you would do it. The problem, I think, is that if you're in Freljord, we'll see it later, but Trundle is probably the best 5-drop you have. And Trundle is what you want to play on turn 5. Trundle already has regeneration, so you're just going to give Trundle Overwhelm, and he has Overwhelm when you level him up anyway, so maybe in... This is not really a 6 mana card, if that makes sense. You kind of... I feel like a lot of the problem with this card is you kind of just want to... You hold this card and you just wait and wait and wait to get that one card you want to give Overwhelm and regeneration to. And then you have to behold an 8-cost card, which is a little tough too, so, you know, whatever. Because of all that, I'm gonna give this thing 3 stars. A fairly powerful card, but a little needs a little bit of work from you to make it actually good. But still, a 6 mana 5/5 is fairly okay stats for the cost. A little small for a 6-drop, but regeneration and Overwhelm help with that. Next up, Call of the Wild, 3 mana burst speed. For the top 4 cards of your deck, or in your deck, draw each Yeti, Poro, and Elnuk, then shuffle the rest into your deck. Right now, this card sucks in my opinion, but I do think if more Yetis, Poros, and Elnuks come into the game that are actually good and playable, this card could actually be considered really strong. Like, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but card draw is usually at a rate of, I'd say, like, draw 1 for 2 mana. So 4 mana to draw 2. So for Call of the Wild, I think you would want to draw 2 cards out of those 4 cards for 3 mana. The issue is, Poros are just usually small. Elnuks don't really exist. And Yetis exist, but they're not amazing. So I feel like in the future, if there are more Yetis, Poros, and Elnuks that are just fine on their own, this card would be great. But if they don't get more, card's just not good. For now, though, I'm only going to give it 1 because just the raw potential of a 3 mana draw 4 is insane. And 3 mana draw 3 is, I think, above average. So it gets a 1 star on, like, theoretical power level, really. Next up, Faces of the Old Ones. This is a very, very polarizing card, I've noticed. And I kind of agree with myself here, if that makes sense. I don't like the card. Other people love the card. 2 mana 0/2, round start. If you behold an 8 cost card, get an extra mana gem this round. So basically, think of Warding Stones, but you have to have something big in your hand, or I guess on the field. If you have an 8 cost on the field on turn 2, you're doing something right. But you have to behold to get the extra mana, the ramp, if you will. Plus, it's only for that round, which is fine. If it wasn't for the round only, this card would be nuts. The main reason I don't like this card is it kind of turns off your avalanche. Like, if your opponent starts to flood the board with, like, stuff, whatever it is, and you have an avalanche, and you're like, I want an avalanche, you pretty much just threw this card away for nothing. Like, sure, it did ramp you early on, and it lets you play stuff a little bit, but eh. And plus, like, Warding Stones and Catalyst already exist. Like, if you want to ramp, I feel like those are just better. Like, there are all-in ramp decks that play Catalyst, Warding Stones, and this. I think that's a little too much ramp when I could just play more payoff. Because of that, I'm actually only going to give this thing 1 star. I'm just not a big fan of this card. I'm sorry. Next up, another card I am not a big fan of, but I've started to come around on it. Icequake. 8 mana slow spell. Give all units -3/-0 this round, and then deal 3 to all of them. At first, when I saw this card, I was like, this card sucks. Like, I could, for 1 extra mana, instead of playing Avalanche, I play this to give things, or to deal 3. That's not that great, but, I mean, sometimes you just need a extra little bit of damage, right? And plus, even if you don't kill the thing, giving it -3/-0 for the round might stop it from attacking in. So, you know, that's nice and all. Because of that and everything I just said there, I'm going to give it 2 stars. I'm just not the biggest fan of this card, but I have played it in decks, and I've never been too impressed by the card, but it's still fine. It's also an 8 mana card, so it can help with beholding stuff, I guess. So that's cute. Next up, though, we got Revitalizing Roar. Now this, I love. After Stargazing or Star Seeking or Shaping or whatever it is called, the TARGON heal, this is probably the second best heal in the expansions. Revitalizing Roar is a 7 mana slow spell. Pick a unit in your hand to reveal. Heal your Nexus by its power. If you're Enlightened, reduce its cost to 0. You can also do kind of cute tricks if you're at 9 mana to ramp for 1 and then use Revitalizing Roar. But that's very, very unlikely if that happens. But it does come up. I mean, the thing, like, the dream is you're Revitalizing Roar, show off Aurelion Sol, heal for 10, play a 0 mana Aurelion Sol, and then you have, like, some extra spell mana or whatever to do something else. Like, maybe hold up a card we'll see a little bit, probably next, actually, Troll Chant. Still, though, a little slow. You kind of need to be Enlightened if you want to play this card. If you're not Enlightened and you're playing this card before turn 10, either your hand sucks or you're in a really bad spot. For that, I'm giving it 3 stars. Powerful heal, but it's just a little situational, if that makes sense. I don't know what the right word is, but yeah. Next up, though, we got a combat trick, I think. Yeah, we've got Troll Chant. I love this card. 2 mana burst spell. Give an ally +0/+2 this round. Give an enemy -2/-0 this round. Very, very powerful. It does require a board, of course, so that's a little bit of a negative it has going for it, but it can help you. You can get huge, huge blowouts with it because it affects multiple things. It can help just keep you alive because of the -2/-0. Still, though, even though I like the card, only 3 stars. It's kind of hard for a combat trick to get really, really, really high in the rating list and get more than 3 stars, in my opinion. It has to be really good, something like a Pale Cascade, I'd say. So only 3 stars. I like the card, though. But in a world of, like, I don't know, Elixir of Irons and other such things, it's tough for this thing to make it over Elixir of Iron, I think. Next up, Troll Ravager. 4 mana 3/5. When I'm summoned, if you behold an 8 cost card, grant me regeneration. I would say this card is good. I like the card, at least. The problem is the whole behold thing. If you're not beholding and you're just playing this, I mean, a 4 mana 3/5 for 4 is bad for constructed, but it's not terrible. Obviously, you want to get regeneration on this guy. Now, the issue is in my opinion. A 3/5 doesn't really hit too hard, if that makes sense. Like, if your opponents say like a control deck, like an Aurelion Sol deck, and they're just trying to buy time to Aurelion Sol, Troll Ravager doesn't put that much pressure on. Now against aggro decks, though, this guy is kind of just a brick wall that keeps rebuilding itself. Your aggro player is going to be like, okay, attack in, block like a 2/2 or a 3/3 with this guy, and then if they don't kill it after that, regenerate back up, and you're like, all right, try again. So because of that, very polarizing, great against aggro, decent against mid-range, terrible against control. Wow. Talking's hard. This is a long video, okay? Forgive me for being tongue-tied here. But yeah, like with all that I said, only 3 stars from me. Sorry, Troll Ravager. I like you, though. You're good. Next up, we're still on the Trolls. Troll Scavenger. 2 mana, 1/3. When I'm summoned, if you behold an 8-cost card, grant me +3/+0. It's then a 2 mana, 4/3. Decent stat line, 2 mana, 4/3. The problem with this card is you kind of always have to behold. And if you're beholding on turn 2, it means you have an 8-cost card in hand, or more, of course. And that card probably is pretty dead. But I still like this card. 4/3, it hits hard compared to like the Troll Ravager. Hits fast. 4/3 is it's a very okay stat line. The issue is, like, I think there's just better cards for 2 mana, I think. Still though, not bad. Fairly serviceable. And if you don't behold and you just make a 1/3, if you're against like aggro that's playing like 2 1s and 2 2s, it's okay. Because of that, I'll give it a 3 star. Next up though, we have Trundle. Trundle is a good champ. Very good champ. Kind of boring. Don't bully me, Trundle, for saying that. I don't know what the right word is. Like, he's a little just simplistic, if that makes sense. 5 mana, 4/6 regeneration. When he's summoned, create an Ice Pillar. To level him up, you just got to play that Ice Pillar. Like, very simple. We can see over there on the left side, the Ice Pillar is an 8 mana, 0/8. Activates Behold, by the way, because 8 mana. It's vulnerable. When you play it, you refill 8 mana, so it's pretty much being played for free. When you play it and at the start of the round, you give the strongest enemy vulnerable this round, so you can start using it to kill some stuff. Leveled up Trundle says still has the Ice Pillar being created when he's summoned, but he also gets Overwhelm. And when you attack, he gets +1/+0 for each Behold of an 8-cost card, including the Ice Pillar, of course. And he has Ice Quake as his champ spell. Fairly decent overall. Like, Trundle does his job. He's just gonna come down. He's gonna be a big boy, slow the game down. His buddy Aurelion Sol is gonna come out later, or maybe Tryndamere or whatever your late game is. He's kind of like the mid-range bruiser, mid-game bruiser who's just here to slow the game down. He can win on his own thanks to his leveled up form plus the Ice Pillar, letting regeneration just heal him back up so he can keep attacking in. Still though, he's just fine. 5 stars though. Like, he does his job, he does it well. He helps with the Behold synergy. He comes down in the mid game, he helps slow the game down. Ice Quake helps that too. If there's an Ice Quake, or if there's a Trundle on the field, you kind of have to play around Ice Quake. It's very scary. Next up, Uzgar the Ancient. 8 mana, 7/7. Challenger regeneration. I think this card's meh. Still though, I think it is, some people, and myself included, think it's fringe playable in like a War Mother's deck. And it's like, you play it in a War Mother's deck, it comes down, thanks to regeneration, it will heal back up, and you use it to basically pick off problematic stuff that are very big, thanks to a Challenger. 2 stars though. Outside of that, not really a thing. Maybe if there was like a troll tribe and it was in the troll tribe and there was some kind of troll synergy, maybe, but for now there isn't. So Uzgar just gets a 2 from me. Next up, I believe we're heading to Ionia. Ionia also has a lot of cards. Ionia, first off, we got Fey Guide. 4 mana, 3/3. When you play him, grant an ally elusive. Not much complexity here. Kind of just some work maps on a body. I think the card is fine. Fringe playable. If you just want to give something elusive, like, this is your guy. Yeah, and 3v3 for 4 is bad, but not unserviceable. He'll work. 2 stars for me. There's not much to talk about with this guy. If you want to give something elusive, this is the guy. Next up, we got Flower Shell. Now, this card right here. This is, in my opinion, one of the better cards in the expansion. I'm not really an aggro player, but this card is why I think Taric kind of sucks, because why play Taric when you could play this guy or girl and other Ionian cards. Flower Child is a 1-mana 1/2. Whenever it is supported, it gets +2/+0, and of course the buff or whatever it gets from being supported. That's insane. This card will grow out of control because that +2/+0 is also permanent, by the way. So it becomes a 3/2, 5/2, etc., etc. Maybe it'll get some permanent buffs from the supports, and so on and so forth. So with that all said, 5 stars. I think this card is one of the main reasons why support decks are a thing. This card is like actually a terrifying card to see on turn 1. Next up, not that terrifying of a card. We got Fuzzy Caretaker, 4-mana 3/3. When it is supported, it gets +0/+3 the round. And it supports, and it says, give my supported ally +3/+0 this round. Lots of stats, lots of numbers being thrown around, but I think it's just like too little of an effect and just not enough. So, not really too impressed by this guy. I think there's just better 4-drops to play is the other thing. I like the art though, very cute. 2 stars for me though, just not enough going on, but you could probably do worse in like a 4-mana slot in the support deck. Next up, we got the queen of support decks, basically. The main reason why you would play support decks without Taric, because Lulu is just better. Lulu is a 3-mana 2/3 that says supported ally grows up to 4/4 this round. So if it's bigger than a 4/4, it won't shrink. To level her up, allies have to have been supported 3 times. Very nice that she doesn't have to be on the field and has to see these things. Leveled up Lulu is a 3-mana 3/4. Great stats for the cost. At the start of the round, you get Help Picks. I didn't include an image of that because I kind of honestly forgot. Help Picks is a 1-mana burst speed spell that says give an ally barrier or give an enemy vulnerable for the round. But you can't do it. It's like a gem. You can't do it during combat or in response to a spell. Also, her support says it's now 5/5 instead of a 4/4. Plus, her champ spell is Whimsy. Transform a follower into a 1/1 squirrel and silence it this round. Pretty good champ spell in my opinion. Just overall a great card. Like, this card is terrifying. Kind of hard to remove early on. Once she levels up, still hard to remove. 3/4 stat line is great. Thanks to other support cards, you might support Lulu as well. Just insanely good. For that, 5 stars. Really great card. It's Lulu. Lulu's a cutie. Who doesn't like Lulu? Next up, we got Pix. Pix kind of sucks. From Lulu to Pix. Pix is a 1-mana 0/1. It says support. Give my supported ally +2/+1 this round. Yeah, I think you are kind of bad, Pix. You are 1 star for me. I think in a support deck, you want your first 1-drop to be like a non-support unit that's going to get supported, not the supporter. So 1 star. The ability is strong, so maybe as a 1-of in certain support decks, but I don't think this card is good enough for support decks. Next up, we got Singular Will. This card is a freaking meme. 10 mana, slow speed, pick an ally, recall all other units. The issue I have with this card is it's really slow. And plus, by the time you play this card in certain decks, you might just have a hand that's too big, so if you recall your other units, you don't have enough hand size and they'll just get destroyed basically. I mean, it's cute if you play with, like, I don't know, Yasuo and Leona. You choose Yasuo, recall, like, to stay on the field, recall all the other units. Yasuo hits everything that's being recalled of the enemy stuff. Replay Leona and all her friends to Daybreak and stun some stuff, but that's just to win more. And again, 10 mana is just too much. This thing needs to cost like 8 mana, even like maybe see play. I've tried it. Don't get me wrong, I've tried this card. I'm sorry, Singular Will. 1 star from me. You're getting 1 star because, like, you are a powerful card, and there is some synergy. You're just a little too expensive. Next up, Swole Squirrel. Memes aside, 4 mana 3/4 strike, double my power. This card is kind of bad. It's like Lee Sin 2.0. Like, I feel like you only play this deck in Lee Sin decks as like an extra copy of Lee Sin. And even then, I'm not too impressed. I'm only going to give it 1 star. Like, sure, it has a deck it goes in, and it's fine, but it's not even amazing in that deck, so 1 star. Sorry, Squirrel. Great pecs, though. Next up, we got Tasty Feyfolk. Now, this card I like. 3 mana 4/2 Lifesteal. Not much to talk about with this guy. Really great for Ionia control decks and control decks in general. People were playing Deadbloom Wanderer, the 3 mana 3/2 that tosses, without caring about the toss, just because they wanted a Lifesteal card in the 3 mana slot. This card is pretty much that, except instead of tossing, it has an extra power, and it's a 4/2 instead. That's really good. It's not like insanely good though, but I'm gonna give it a 4 star. It does what it does well, which is it comes down, slows down the game, heals you up maybe, and buys you time until you can get the karma and stuff, or whatever your late game is online. Nice card. Next up, Whimsy. Now, Whimsy, I think people are not giving this card its due diligence. 4 mana, burst speed, transform a follower into a 1/1 squirrel and silence it this round. Followers only, no champs. And that's the reason why it's not that good in all honesty. But I still think it's a fine card. Like, maybe as a 2 of in an Ionia-based control deck. The problem is, Ionia-based control kind of sucks. Ever since, like, Shadow Assassin got nerfed, and Deny, and Will of Ionia, and so on and so forth. Still, though, I think this is slightly better than current Deny. Sorry, current Will of Ionia. Now, current Will of Ionia is bad at 5 mana, but still. I've been playing this card, and I'm having limited success with it. 4 stars for me, though. I am probably overrating this, and it's probably more of a 2-star card, but I really like this card. A little bias bleeding through. Next up, Young Witch. Now, this card is the reason why a lot of support cards are bad, because this card is so good and pushes them out. Young Witch is a 2 mana 1/1 elusive support. Give my supported ally quick attack and +1/+0 this round. Sure, I can argue that like the 1/1 stat line is bad, but it's not wrong. She's very fragile, and make it rain just makes her a very sad girl. But giving something like a Flower Child or Lulu quick attack to help them survive for a turn is really good. Plus the fact that she's elusive, you can use Lulu to buff her up to a 4/4 or bigger or whatever, and have her do some damage as well. Very, very nice card. Because of that, I'm giving her 4 stars. Really great. Next up, I believe we will head to Noxus. Only 2 cards here. First up is Apprehend, 2 mana slow speed spell. Stun an enemy. If you have Darius, Rally. I like this spell in concept. I kind of like the spell mostly because it's like, I want to see more spells like this where it's like, do a thing, and if you have a certain champion, do another thing. We've seen this type of card before in the form of Riptide with Nautilus. As for this card itself, though, it's fine. Maybe play it as like a 1 of or a 2 of in like a Darius deck. The problem is Darius kind of sucks. Maybe if Darius Harrowing or something comes back, maybe you'll play it as a 1 or 2 of. 2 stars for me, though. Like, it's not that great, though, even in those kind of decks. Next up, we got Basilisk Bloodseeker. 7 mana, 7/4, Overwhelm. Play, deal 1 to an ally and an enemy 4 times. I have no idea how to think about this card. Like, it activates, it hurts stuff, so, like, I guess Vladimir likes this guy. The problem is it's a playability, so you can respond to whatever is being targeted. I really just am not sure about this guy. I haven't been a big fan. Overwhelm's cute as a 7/4, 7 mana, 7/4. So it might get some damage in, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. 2 stars for me only. And that's it for Noxus. They didn't get much, only 2 cards. Next up, another region that only got 2 cards. We got PNZ, Piltover, and Zon. First off, that's a Poro's butt. Poro Cannon. 0 mana burst speed. To play it, discard 1. You get 2 Daring Poros. They're the 1 mana 1/1 elusives if you don't remember. I think this card's actually decent. Like Daring Poro, like 1 mana 1/1s are not great, but they're elusive, so you know that's something. Plus you can use like it helps out decks that care about like 1-drops, like I can't remember the name of the cards, but like Baron von Yip. That might not be the right name. Baron von Zap, whatever his name is. The guy who gives like +2/+2 or something to 1-drops when you summon them. Like that's cute with them. This card's mostly a meme. You can also use this to like discard something that's fleeting or a gem or something to create some 1/1s for 1. Also Poro Snacks with this thing is kind of cute, but yeah, it's just a little too memey for my taste and my liking. Because of that though, I'll give it 2 stars. Like there is something here, I think, but only 2 stars for me for now. Next up, we got Tri-Beam Improbulator. I think this card is actually a fairly strong card. 4 mana slow spell, deal 1 to a unit, summon a random 1-cost follower. While I'm in hand, increase both by 1 when you play a 3-cost card. First off, like Hush, anybody? Also like Flash of Brilliance, Get Excited. I'm just naming 3-mana spells now. I feel like if you want this card to be good, you have to activate it at least once. Because 4 mana to deal 1, summon a random 1-cost is bad, but 4 mana for a 2-drop that deals 2 something is fine, I think. And then once you get to 3 mana or a 3-drop that deals 3, that's when it gets really good. So I think you'd have to activate this or take it up by 1 for it to be good. But still, I think this card is actually decent. The problem is, built over in Zon kind of is a little mediocre right now, but still, okay spell. Slow speed kind of holds it back a little bit, but whatever. 3 stars for me, though. I like the card. And now I believe we got the last region. We got Shadow Isles. We got a little bit more Nightfall and a little bit more of everything. First off, we got Doom Beast. 3 mana, 3/2, Nightfall, drain 2 from the enemy nexus. This card's okay. Like, it helps, it comes down, it helps just stall on the board for, like, Endure decks and or such cards and decks. Helps get a little bit extra damage through for Diana decks, like Nightfall decks anyway. I like the card. Never too impressed by it, but he does his job and he does it well. He's going to get 3 stars from me. Next up, Dusk Rider. 5 mana Fearsome, 2/5, Nightfall. Gets +1/+0 for each time you've activated Nightfall for this game. At first I thought this card is unplayable in a meme, and then I realized, like, well, what if you make it really big, and then you use, like, Atrocity or something, and I don't know, that's kind of cute. But even then with that, it's not that great. I'm only going to give it 2 stars. It has a role to play in, like, Nightfall decks, but even that role is just kind of mediocre. Next up, Encroaching Shadows. I don't know about this card. When I first saw the card, I was like, well, that's insanely good. And now the more and more I've thought about this card and looked at the card, the more and more I'm like, it's a little too memey. 4 mana burst speed. Grant all allies in deck and hand +2/+2 and ephemeral. I kind of see this card as like, this is my last ditch effort. I'm going to play this card, and I better kill you with like my next 2 or 3 units. Now, obviously, the thing I can think of immediately is like, oh, what if you do this with elusives? The problem is, Shadow Isles elusives are kind of lackluster. Maybe in like some mono, what's it called? Ionia deck that splashes for Encroaching Shadows, but even then it's like, not too impressed by it. I'm only gonna give this thing 1 star because there is potential here. Like, it's a very powerful card. It just has to find the right deck. And ephemerals just kind of suck is the problem. Like, ephemeral is almost always a downside, it seems. So, sorry, Encroaching Shadows. You're powerful, but just a little too meh. Next up, though, our last champ. We got Nocturne. 4 mana, 5/3. Similar, exactly the same stat line, actually, as Ash. Fearsome, Nightfall, grant an enemy vulnerable. You get to choose, of course, so that's nice. And give enemies -1/-0 this round. Leveled up, you've attacked with 5 Nightfall allies. Leveled up Nocturne is a 4-mana 6/4. He loses the summon ability of giving night or vulnerable to something, but instead, now all of your allies are fearsome. So that's a huge thing because of his second line of text of whenever you play a unit, give enemies -1/-0 this round. So in theory, you play leveled up Nocturne, you have some units on board, you play a bunch of units, they all have fearsome, and because you played some units, you shrunk your opponent's board enough that they can't actually block that well. Champ spell is Unspeakable Horror. We haven't seen it yet. 2-mana fast speed spell. Drain 1 from anything. That includes Nexus. Nightfall. Create a random Nightfall card in hand. Pretty decent card. Not amazing as a champ spell. It does its job and it pings stuff, but not very high impact though. Still though, card is fine. I'm only going to give it 3 stars though. Like, this card only really goes in Nightfall decks, and even then it's not that impressive. The champ spell is an okay champ spell, but it's not too high impact. The other issue I have with Nocturne is the very low health as a 5/3 and 4. Without having something like Elixir of Iron or Furies or whatever in Freljord. Kind of makes me not like this guy as much compared to like an Ashe who has the same exact stat line. You have like, I mean, you might have Pale Cascade if you're playing Targon, but whatever. So yeah, only 3 stars. Still though, good card in the right deck, but that deck is kind of limited. So yeah, 3 stars. Sorry, Nocturne. Please don't scare me. Next up, Passage Unearned. This card is, that's a good way to describe it. 3 mana, fast spell. Obliterate all enemies that were summoned but not played this round. So basically it says you played Harrowing. No, you didn't. The problem with this card is it's kind of useless in a lot of matches, and it doesn't actually do anything in a lot of matches. This is the kind of card that if we had best of 3s in sideboards, this card would be like taking up some slots. The problem is, for a best of 1 ladder, this card's kind of bad, and you don't want to play something like this in your deck. I feel like for this to see play on ladder, you need a meta where you're playing like a lot of Harrowings or maybe Rekindlers or whatever. I do like how like a anti-Shadow Isles card is in Shadow Isles, though. It's kind of, I don't know, ironic maybe? But yeah, because of that, and all I've said, it only gets 0 stars from me. If there's a way in the future to maybe like create this card or draw cards or pick a card from your library or something using a card, maybe this card will see play, but you'll never put this card in your deck. And if this card is in your deck because you're trying to counter the meta, that's a bad meta in my opinion. Next up though, we got Risen Mist. 4 mana, burst speed, summon a Mist Wraith. If you don't remember the Mist Wraiths, they're the 2-mana 2/2s that have fearsome, that give +1/+0 whenever, or give other Mist Wraiths +1/+0 or something like that. This card is actually fairly good. It's really, you can do something with Karma too. That's very cute if you have leveled up Karma, but that's more of a meme. Mist Wraith, sorry, Risen Mist is, I think, the second way to create a unit at fast speed. The other way is Claws of the Dragon, if I'm thinking of it correctly, the 3/2 that gets played when you cast 2 spells in a round. That way you can use this card as kind of a combat trick, use it to buff up your other Mist Wraith, use it to like summon a Mist Wraith and then attack in without passing priority to your opponent. It's very, like, the burst speed thing is really what makes this card. If it weren't for the burst speed on this card would be absolute garbage, but thanks to that, it's a good card. Not much to talk about here. It's fairly a simple to understand card. Next up. Oh yeah, I gotta give this a rating. Sorry, 4 stars because of that. Little, I'm not getting the 5th star because a little expensive. 4 mana is a lot of mana, so yeah. Next up, we got Shroud of Darkness. Bad card, really bad card. 1 mana, burst speed. Next time you summon an ally this round, give it +1/+0, and spell shield this round. Some people have tried to tell me I'm an idiot and I'm crazy for saying this card is bad when we first saw this card, and then the card came out and the card was bad, and I was like, I told you. But yeah, the only reason I can see to play this is because you want to like protect the 2 creature combo. Like, I don't know, maybe you played like Smooth Soloist a bit, you discounted like Gangplank Boat and Ladros or something, You play this card, summon like Gangplank Boat. So Gangplank Boat has Spell Shield and then summon Ladros or something, but meh. Because I feel like the reason why this card is bad is, well, it's very low impact. You can't really, you want to, when it comes to Spell Shield stuff, you want to play it as like a counter spell, a deny basically, kind of like Bastion is being played. This is more of a proactive thing, and giving an ally Spell Shield is more of a reactive thing, is what you want it to be. So yeah, because of that, I'm only going to give it 1 star because I think there is potential to try and protect creature-based combos, like maybe protect like, I don't know, a Yasuo or a Heimerdinger or something. Some kind of champ or whatever that wants to live for at least 1 round. And even then, it's like, it's not a guarantee because, you know, they could just play 2 spells on the card. Next up, we got Stalking Shadows. Now, this card, from really bad card to insanely good card. 2 mana burst speed spell. Pick a follower from the top 4 cards in your deck, draw it, shuffle the rest into the deck, then create an exact ephemeral copy in hand. This card is insanely good. Everyone loves this. Control loves it. Mid-range loves it. Aggro loves it. Everyone loves it. Combo loves it. Use it for They Who Endure decks to get in the second They Who Endure. Use it for deep decks to get more like deep enablers, such as like, I don't know, Deadbloom Wanderers or Dredgers. Get it more actual sea monsters, like more Devour Fishes, Abyssalize, whatever you want. Use it as an aggro to activate Nightfall and to get more burn in the form of more Doom Beast. Overall, the card is great, and I actually think this card might get a little bit of a nerf. I don't know how, but I feel like this card might get a nerf. Maybe it'll look at only top 3, maybe it'll go to 3 mana, who knows. Maybe we'll go to burst speed, or it's not burst speed, fast speed. Still though, the one downside, I guess, if I need to give a downside, is you do need to play units, so in a more unit light list, it's not great, and you might whiff. So because of that, though, I'm still going to give it 5 stars. Card's insanely good. It goes in like pretty much almost any kind of deck. Next up, we got Stygian Onlooker. 1 mana, 2/1. Nightfall, it gets +2/+0 and fearsome for the round. Not much to talk about the card. It is just a scary owl that gets its damage in. A little fragile as a X1, so, you know, Vile Feast, Make It Rain, you know, the usual suspects of Waste Ping. But still, very decent card. Also very cheap itself, so it helps to activate Nightfall on its own. Fine card. Never too scary, but still, it can push in a lot of damage really quickly. So because of that, 2 stars. Not amazing, not great. And now, the last card of the set, I believe. We got Unspeakable Horror. We saw it already with Nocturne. 2 mana fast speed, drain 1 from anything, Nightfall, create a random Nightfall card in hand. The problem with this card is it competes for the ping spot with Vile Feast. Some decks that I used to play Vile Feast in, I've tried out Unspeakable Horror in. The problem is, if you're playing this over Vile Feast, you kind of always have to get the Nightfall going off, I think. And that might be a little bit tough. Still, though, the ability to get like Pale Cascades, Doom Beast, Cygnus, all these random Nightfall cards is really powerful, though. Because of that, I'm actually going to give it 5 stars. I really like this card. And then you can drain from the Nexus too, so you can activate Plunder if you care about that, if you're in like some Shadow Isles Bilgewater shenanigans. That's not called deep. So that's cute. And if sometimes you just need that extra like 1 little bit of damage on the face, so that's nice too. So yeah, pretty good card. And with that all said and done, though, it's a long video, but that's it for now. That's going to be all the cards in the Call of the Mountain set. If I missed a card, I apologize, but I don't think I did. I might have missed 1 or 2, and again, like I said, I apologize. There's a lot of cards. All right, I'm sorry. Anyway, though, I'll be back again in the future when the next set of cards come out to do this whole rating thing again. I hope you all learned something. Maybe got an idea of a deck to build from listening to me ramble about all these cards. I hope you, maybe it will help educate you and make you think about like, oh, maybe that's why my deck sucks, or maybe that's a good idea. I can build a deck with that. Who knows? I hope it did. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video, though. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like or a comment down below. Really helps me out. If you guys want to keep up with the Runeterra content, English is hard, as well, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, of course. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always check me out on my Twitch TV account at twitch.tv/Zenaton. So yeah, that all said and done. Thank you all once more for watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.